Okay, thank you, everybody, and welcome to the November 9th, 2021 Municipal Planning Commission meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. My name is Jeffrey Dowling. I'm the Director of Municipal Services, and I will fill the role of Interim Municipal Planning Commission Chair until we get to that portion of the agenda, which calls for the election of a chairman. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that the Cypress County Council has appointed the Municipal Planning Commission for the 2021-2022 calendar year. And obviously the council has full confidence in the group that we have here today and your abilities to make sound decisions related to planning and development on behalf of Cypress County and the Cypress County Council in accordance with the Municipal Planning Commission bylaw. So I guess in order, I'd like to congratulate and welcome back our returning Municipal Planning Commission members, Reeve Dan Hamilton, and our member at large, Wade Watson. I'd also like to welcome our council elected representatives, Michelle McKenzie and Lloyd Want, so welcome. And our two other members at large, Jeremy Jans, and a returning Municipal Planning Commission member from previous years, Nigel Pimblett. So welcome, everybody. Just as a order of business, for the benefit of everybody in the room and as well as everybody that may be listening and watching virtually over the internet and online, to push the button on your recording or your microphone device to make sure that you can be heard and so that the people listening online can hear you, so that it's broadcast over the internet. So every time we talk, we want to make sure that we use that amplified device. So with that being said, we'll get on with the agenda, and I will ask for nominations for the chairman or chairperson, I guess, for the Municipal Planning Commission. So with that being said, I'll call for nominations for the chairperson.
I'll nominate Wade Watson.
For the minutes, let it reflect that Dan Hamilton has nominated Wade Watson. I will ask a second time if there's any other nominations that would like to be brought forward for the position of chairperson for the Municipal Planning Commission. Okay, not having heard any, I'll ask a third time if there are any further or additional nominations for the chairperson for the Municipal Planning Commission. Okay, I guess the silence tells me that let the minutes reflect that Wade Watson has been elected as the chairperson for the Municipal Planning Commission for the 2021-2022 calendar year. So congratulations, Wade. And I'll turn over the chair to Wade, and we'll move on with the election for vice chairman. Oh, yes, I'll ask, yes. Wade, I'm assuming that you are accepting since you didn't decline the nomination.
I accept.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, and I will turn it over.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Next order of business today is nomination election of a vice chairman. We'll accept nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Jeremy.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair? Third and final call for nominations for vice chair. Okay, Jeremy. Do you accept?
I accept.
Okay, so there I declare Jeremy has been elected vice chair of the 2021 Planning Commission. Okay, so the first order of business after the elections today now is call for a motion to adopt the agenda for today's meeting. Okay. So Michelle moves the adoption of the agenda for today's meeting. All those in favor? Carried. Next, we've got the minutes from the October 12th, 2021 meeting. As most of you were not present during that meeting, I would entertain any questions or discussion or motion to adopt those minutes.
Since I was here, I'll move to adopt them.
Dan moves to adopt the minutes from the October 12th, 2021 Municipal Planning Commission. All those in favor? Carried. So today, our first order is a development order for reviews the development application. Ricky, is that you behind the chair over there? Come on up. So Ricky was here at the October 12th meeting, and we had a postponement. So now we will consider 21/204. Ricky Brown, go ahead, Becky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as you had mentioned, Ricky was here at the October meeting with development application 21/204. So for the benefit of the new board members, I will go over the full report if that's all right. So the owner applicant is Ricky Brown, and the legal description is Plan 8210-803 Lot E, and that's at 155 Eagle Butte Ave in Dunmore. Property size is 3,884.9 meters squared, and the existing land use classification is Hamlet Residential Single Family District. The original proposal was to construct an 1,800 square foot shop with the size relaxation of 600 square feet and a size relaxation of 828 square feet for all accessory buildings. The applicant is requesting approval from the Municipal Planning Commission to construct an 1,800 square foot shop with the size relaxation request of 600 square feet. There's currently an existing 528 square foot detached garage located on the property. With the proposed shop, the total floor area of all accessory buildings will be 2,328 square feet. This results in a size relaxation request of 828 square feet for all accessory buildings. The applicant has provided a real property report dated October 8th, 2014 that states site coverage calculation of 28%. With the proposed shop, administration has calculated the total site coverage to be 30%. As stated in the letter of intent, the applicant wishes to utilize the proposed shop for the storage of a mobile tool sales unit. The applicant currently owns Mac tools and would like to have the ability to back the unit into the shop at the end of a workday and close the door. The proposed shop will provide security to the business. In 2006, a development permit 06/26 was issued for a workshop to be turned into a garden suite. A caveat was registered against the Alberta land titles for this temporary use. In 2020, the applicant had converted this building back to a workshop and the caveat was discharged, and the building has since been removed. In accordance with section 9.4 of the Land Use Bylaw, Municipal Planning Commission may waive or vary development standards, notwithstanding that the proposed development does not comply with this bylaw, if in the opinion of the MPC, the development would not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring properties. In the Land Use Bylaw 2018-04, under the Hamlet Residential Single Family District, it states that an accessory building shall not exceed 1,200 square feet in area. The maximum floor area of accessory buildings shall be 1,500 square feet or 15% of the total lot area, whichever is less. No development officer discretion is permitted. It also states that the maximum site coverage for all structures and hard surfacing is 30% of the total lot area. So before I go into my recommendation, I just want to go over the amended proposal. So Mr. Brown has submitted a new site plan and is now proposing to construct a 1,512 square foot shop with a size relaxation of 312 square feet and a size relaxation of 540 square feet for all accessory buildings. So this revision was submitted, and this brings the total square footage of all accessory buildings to 2,040 square feet. And I do have some pictures of the property to show you. Oh, this is when it was bright and sunny out still. So we're looking north. You can see the highway in the background and the proposed build site between the house and the existing garage. And just a closer look there. This is a shot looking east and at the proposed site. And then we're looking more to the south there again at the proposed area for the new building. Okay, so for my proposal, I have two options for you. And the first one is to refuse development application 21/204 as the proposal does not comply with the maximum accessory building size of 1,200 square feet or the maximum floor area of 1,500 square feet for all accessory buildings as stated in the Land Use Bylaw 2018-04 in the Hamlet Residential Single Family District. Option 2 is to approve development permit application 21/204, subject to the following conditions and with the understanding that it will be constructed as outlined in the submitted application. Any changes must be submitted for approval by the development officer or municipal planning commission. So conditions 1 through 7 are standard conditions. So I'll jump to number 8, and that is any additional site coverage will require prior approval by Cypress County. Number 9 is a size relaxation of 312 square feet for the shop. And number 10 is a size relaxation of 540 square feet for all accessory buildings. And that is my report.
Thank you, Becky. Mr. Brown, would you like to speak to the application, amended application at this point?
Just that I knocked it back a little bit there. The size I went with, it ended up being that 1512. I don't know. It's 28 by 54 is kind of what I did it. And it basically sits on everything that was existing there. It it wouldn't really take up any more of the yard that was already covered by stuff.
Okay, I'll open the floor to discussion from the planning commission. There may be some, bear with us, we've got some new members, so there may be some redundant questions. But any discussion? Dan?
Okay, well, as we spoke last time, we're worried about setting precedents on the size of this, but I do look at the fact that it's right beside the highway this time and it's not right dead center of residential, so. And you said it's gonna be the same as what that pad is there. It's not gonna be any bigger than that? Or is that the 60 by 30?
The 60 by 30, the original one, would have gone behind that original footing that's there 10 feet. So knocking it back 54, I can even, excuse me, squeeze it towards the house a little bit more, so it would be up front even more, say on the asphalt, the sidewalk and everything that's already there. So it's not gonna take up any of the existing lawn per se.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Nigel?
Have you had any feedback from your neighbors on this?
The one neighbor was sitting on the board last time. She had no issues with it, and any of the other neighbors haven't really said anything about it yet.
Dan?
There's still an appeal period, so if somebody doesn't like it, if we approve this today, they have the 3 weeks. So just to let the new members know that. Yes, I'll make the motion to accept.
Okay, so Dan moves for approval of 21/204 with conditions 1 through 10 as stated. Does everyone understand that? What's going on? Okay, good. I'll ask a question. All those in favor? Carried. So your development permit has been approved, subject to meeting the conditions which were previously discussed. The county will now mail you a copy of your development permit. Since this is a discretionary use, there is now a 3-week appeal period that the public may may appeal the issuance of this permit. The development permit will be advertised in Cypress Courier newspaper for a duration of 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeal is filed within 21 days from the date of the issue, the development permit will be issued at that time, become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you may contact the development officer to discuss them after today's meeting. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, everyone.
So next on the agenda is 21/230 Abraham Penner. Is that you, Mr. Penner? Can you take one of the chairs up front here, please? Okay, so this is application 21/230 Abraham Penner. Becky, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Development application 21/230. The owner applicant is Abraham Penner, and the legal land description is Plan 1911423, Block 2, Lot 1, and the municipal address is 5223 Township Road 102. Property size is 7.66 acres, and the existing land use classification is Country Residential District 2. And the proposal is to construct a 2,800 square foot shop with a size relaxation of 400 square feet and a height relaxation of 3 feet for personal use. The applicant is requesting approval from the Municipal Planning Commission to construct a 2,800 square foot shop at a height of 26 feet. This results in a size relaxation request of 400 square feet and a height relaxation request of 3 feet. There's an existing 1,024 square foot detached garage and 158 square foot storage container on the property. If the application is approved, the floor area of all accessory buildings would be 3,982 square feet in total. As the letter of intent states, the applicant intends to utilize the proposed shop for the storage and maintenance of equipment that he owns. The applicant has basic machining tools such as a tire machine, welder, compressor, crane unit, etc., as well as some antique vehicles and tractors. The size of the shop would allow the applicant to work on multiple projects simultaneously, while the height will permit the applicant's self-loading bale truck to be parked inside when required. In accordance with Section 9(4) of the Land Use Bylaw, Municipal Planning Commission may waive or vary development standards, notwithstanding that the proposed development does not comply with this bylaw if, in the opinion of the MPC, that the development would not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring properties. In the Land Use Bylaw 2018-04, under the Country Residential District 2, it states that an accessory building shall not exceed 2,400 square feet in area, and the maximum floor area of accessory buildings shall be 4,000 square feet. It also states that an accessory building shall not exceed 7 meters or 23 feet in height. So I have a couple of pictures for you guys. So this is looking into the property from the private driveway towards the southwest at the proposed building site. And so this is from the back of the property looking north. You can see all of the existing structures and the proposed build site. And just another shot there towards the southeast. And from the front there, you can see the stakes where the building is proposed to go and looking to the south. So we'll move on to.
Sorry.
So I'll move on to my recommendation. And option 1 is to refuse development permit application 21/230 as the proposal does not comply with the maximum accessory building size of 2,400 square feet as stated in the Land Use Bylaw 2018-04 in the Country Residential District 2. And option 2, Mr. Chairman, is to approve development permit application 21/230 subject to the following conditions and with the understanding that it will be constructed as outlined in the submitted application. Any changes must be submitted for approval by the Development Officer or Municipal Planning Commission. Numbers 1 through 7 are all standard conditions. So if I jump to number 8, it's a size relaxation of 400 square feet for the shop. And number 9, a height relaxation of 3 feet for the shop as well. And that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Becky. Abraham, would you like to speak to your application at this point and the conditions that were proposed?
No, I'm good. Sure, happy with-
All right, I'll open the floor to discussion from the planning commission. Any questions? One question arises, sea cans. Do you have permits for the sea cans that are on the property? They do, okay. All right.
Yes, there is a permit and it was included in the total floor area. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh. CR2 out there, we've been letting this stuff go, but we're not. I guess what we've looked at in the past, just for the new planning commission, is we're not going over the 4,000 square feet that's allowed for the total. So 2,400 square feet is the maximum, but he could build another garage right beside that's another 400 square feet. So that's why we'll probably look at this as, okay, we can do this oversize on this one, but once this is done, then that's it. There's no more building on this property at all, because he's already hit the maximum size of everything. But one question I have for you, sir, you said this is for your personal stuff, but then you have a bale truck going in and stuff. So is it commercial side too, or is it all personal?
It is basically personal. There's no revenue gonna come out of the shop. It's basically if I park my machine in there that I do commercial with, I don't revenue anything out of the shop portion. So technically I won't make any money with that building. So I'm not sure if
Go ahead, Becky.
Yeah, me and Mr. Penner chatted about his business and he would be using his bale truck to haul bales. It wouldn't be the shop necessarily that he's not bringing customers in and working out of the shop. He's using his bale truck to haul bales. So the bale truck may come into the shop to be maintained or stored. And Mr. Penner and I were going to chat afterwards to determine if a permit would be needed for that bale service.
So this is akin to the previous application, which was for Ricky Brown for a tool truck that he uses. Did he have a permit for operation of that commercial business out of his shed?
No, and for something like that, it could be considered office use only if he's just storing his vehicle there. So that would be something we would discuss and can approve outside of the planning commission.
Right. Yeah, a bigger concern is noise and other nuisance that is emitted from commercial uses in a residential development. And as we can see here, this is not very dense residential development around him. So I certainly like to take that into consideration, the size of the building in reference to what's around it and the occupation of the lands around it. His neighboring parcel of farmland, they could build a 100,000 square foot shop if they wanted beside him. So go ahead, Jeffrey.
Yeah, and I guess just for the benefit of the new planning commission members, in order for this yard site to have been subdivided out, it had to have been reclassified to a different district in the land use bylaw. And for that to be an eligible district, we reclassified to country residential. So even though it's out in what we might consider the middle of an agricultural district with, like you say, not very much density in terms of neighbors around it, in order for the subdivision to occur, it still has to be reclassified to a country residential use or district, which has residential uses attached to that district, which restrict the size of the buildings and types of uses. So
it's very common. This is probably the biggest issue that we deal with on a monthly basis is oversized application for oversized shops and ancillary buildings. It's just something that we've grown to accept as normal. Every time that council will come in and do a new bylaw and they make it bigger, and then the applications get bigger and kind of
I was just gonna say that we fixed it about 4 years ago when we changed all the sizes and made everything bigger, and then it was good for about a year, and then all of a sudden somebody came in with one oversized snowball effect. Everybody's-
Like I said earlier, it's best from, my opinion is to contextualize with what's happening within the area. We don't want these great big shops being used for commercial. I shouldn't say we, I prefer not to see big shops used for commercial in the middle of a dense and residential area, but something like this is certainly a little more appealing. So, any other discussion? Jeremy?
Make a motion to approve this.
Okay, so Jeremy approves or moves approval of 21/230 with conditions as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Development permit has been approved, subject to meeting the conditions which were previously discussed. The county will mail you a copy of your development permit. Since this is a discretionary use, there's now a 3-week appeal period that the public may appeal the issuance of this permit. The development permit will be advertised in the Cypress Courier newspaper for a duration of 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeal is filed within 21 days of the date of the issue, the development permit will become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you can talk to the development officer to discuss them after today. Thank you very much. So we are running very efficiently today. So that just jinxed the rest of the meeting. Okay, so I think what we'll do right now, since we have some time between the next applicant, we'll move into some miscellaneous. We'll discuss 20 CY 17 subdivision time extension request.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm comfortable going over this one. I know that Murray Lake Colony won't be attending for this application, so we'll just pursue forward. So just as an update for the new MPC members, in 2020, a subdivision approval was granted to Murray Lake Colony. And the purpose was to correct the encroachment of the existing irrigation pivot, as well as the yard on this parcel. When we grant subdivision approvals, they're valid for a period of 1 year. And within that 1 year period, the applicant is required to meet all of the conditions that are attached to that approval. And they're also required to have the paperwork submitted to land titles to have the subdivision registered. So in some cases, when those benchmarks aren't met within that 1 year period, we'll see requests for time extensions come forward where they ask for an additional 1 year to meet those conditions to allow for the registration. So in this case, after chatting with Murray Lake Colony, they're prepared to move forward with the subdivision, but there is a transfer of land that they're waiting for through Alberta land titles, and that's what's resulted in the delay. So my recommendation to the Planning Commission would be to grant the 1 year time extension to Murray Lake Colony.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I'll move to give them the extension because I know how long land titles takes and yeah, they're gonna need it.
Okay, Michelle moves approval of time extension for 20 CY 17. All those in favor? Carried. So now let's move on to the planner's report. Typically, the planner does not read the planner report. It is submitted to us to review before. Was everyone able to have a look at the planner's report before the meeting today? All right. Does any questions for the planner regarding the report? Dan moves approval of the planner's report as presented. All those in favor? Carried. That's a good idea. So we've got another, probably should have amended the agenda off the bat to include that, but we have another miscellaneous item that has come up that we think should be discussed.
Yeah.
You want to move to go in camera?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to go in camera.
Dan moves to go in camera for discussion of a issue. All those in favor? Carried. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think in light of what the issue probably is, it probably ties into the planner's report. So I think in all fairness, it's part of the original agenda. So, okay, so I don't know necessarily that, it could be part of the discussion of the planner's report as an extension of that.
Fair enough.
So Ingrid, if you can just mute the microphone system so that we can all use the mics without going on the live stream.
Morning, Blaine. Take one of these chairs up front here if you can. Okay, so what we have now is development application 21/241, Gross Land and Cattle Company. Go ahead, Becky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So development application 21/241, the owner applicant is Gross Land and Cattle Company Limited. The legal description is northeast 7/12/2 west of the 4th, and the municipal address is 12113 Range Road 30. Property size is 159 acres, and the existing land use classification is agricultural district 2. And the proposal is to move on a second residence for agricultural purposes. The applicant is requesting the Municipal Planning Commission's consideration to move on an additional dwelling unit onto the property. Currently, the property contains one existing dwelling unit, resulting in a request for the approval of a total of 2 dwelling units. As the letter of intent indicates, Gross Land and Cattle Company Limited is a 5th-generation family ranch. The proposed second residence is intended for the youngest daughter to reside in to maintain an active role in the daily operations of the business. This aligns with the succession plans for Gross Land and Cattle Company. As the attached aerial details, access to northeast 7/12/2 west of the 4th is currently gained from Range Road 30. This results in the crossing of the southwest 7/12/2 west of the 4th and the southeast, which are also owned by Gross Land and Cattle to grant access to northeast 7/12/2 west of the 4th. The titles were consolidated in prior years, and therefore each quarter section has direct and immediate access to an established public road. The development would also have the opportunity to gain access from Township Road 122. In the Land Use Bylaw 2018-04, under Agricultural District 2, a second or additional dwelling unit is considered a Class 2 discretionary use requiring Municipal Planning Commission approval. I did circulate the application to our Public Works Department, and they replied that they have no concerns. So I did take some pictures for you guys. So this is from Range Road 30 looking east into the property and the private drive on the left. And so this is a little further in, so you can see the existing yard site. So the existing residence is off in the distance there, and the proposed building site to the left, and we're looking northeast here. Just a little closer. And then from the other side, looking west and the proposed building site. Yeah, and this is from the building site, I guess, looking to the east, and the existing residence, you can kind of see the rooftop there in the back. So if I move on to my recommendation, option 1 is to approve development permit application 21/241, subject to the following conditions and with the understanding that the residents will be moved on as outlined in the submitted application. Any changes must be submitted for approval by the development officer or municipal planning commission. And I believe conditions 1 through 10 are all standard conditions. And condition number 11 is for the purpose of physical access to the yard site from an established public road, the northeast 7/12/2 west of the 4th, the southeast 7/12/2 west of the 4th, and the southwest are to remain consolidated unless otherwise approved by Cypress County. And option 2 is to refuse development permit application 21/241, as the proposal would not strengthen the agricultural character of the A2 general district. And that is my report.
Thanks, Becky. Blaine, would you like to speak to your application and or the conditions as presented?
I don't think so at this time. I think it's fairly straightforward. We're planning on putting a house there for our youngest daughter to reside in and help out at the ranch because I plan to retire at some point.
Okay. Any discussion?
What's the water source? Do you have enough water source out there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have a a well with a artesian flowing river underneath it. Dad always said it could be irrigated out of when the guy drilled the well. So water source is outstanding.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I, for one, am all over this. I like the fact of multi-generational farms and that they shouldn't be subdivided. They should be all kept together. I just think it's a great idea.
I agree. It's keeping them all together that counts. That's the challenge, giving the second house. But I know in this case, it's not going to be one of those. But a lot of times we give a second house and then a couple of months later, there's a subdivision application coming through. So it's, but I know that's not the case in this one.
And that's why you will not see a division application, because I don't believe in that. I'm the same way. This ranch has been together for, like I said, 5 generations. So we plan to try to keep it that way.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Motions? Michelle? Okay, Michelle moves approval of development application 21/241 with conditions as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, so your development permit has been approved, subject to meeting the conditions which were previously discussed. The county will mail you a copy of your development permit. Since this is a discretionary use, there's now a 3-week appeal period that the public may appeal the issuance of the permit. Development permit will be advertised in the Cypress Courier newspaper for 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeal is filed within 21 days from the date of the issue, the development permit will become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you can contact the development officer after today to discuss them. Thanks, Blaine.
I would like to thank the committee on their decision. Thank you.
Okay, so fairly straightforward and easy ones today for your initiation. It's been good. Yeah, so I guess we got a PowerPoint presentation now. Want to go ahead with that? Who's running that? Ingrid?
Ingrid to click through for me. Yeah, perfect. So it's fairly short and sweet, fairly high level, but I wanted to bring it forward as an opportunity for either existing or new planning commission members to ask questions. Some of the points are a little bit more direct and pointed to hopefully probe for any questions that you might have. So luckily you're coming into a planning commission meeting where we have a new municipal development plan adopted. So staff as well as the new MPC are still learning that bylaw. So we'll look through all those changes together. So we'll go from there. So in terms of agenda, so I'll briefly go over the hierarchy of planning related legislation. So provincial legislation, as well as the county's own bylaws and policies that apply. We'll look at the role of the planning commission. We'll look at the process. We'll look at the process of the subdivision and development appeal board, and kind of looking at ongoing projects that we're currently working on. So in terms of hierarchy of planning legislation, the ones that you see highlighted in orange are provincial. So they're requirements that we are required to abide by. And many of those requirements are integrated into our processes by council in the bylaws that we adopt. So at the top of the list is the Alberta Land Stewardship Act, and it enables government to provide direction and leadership for land use objectives within the province. Followed by that is the Municipal Government Act, and it's essentially the rule book for how municipalities must operate. And planning and development related matters are contained within Part 17 of that act. So it deals with what are the requirements of development permits, what's the requirements for advertising, what are we required to do for circulation. That is all outlined within there. Historical Resources Act is a fairly new one. So there's certain areas where there might be historical resources contained on land where there might be a approval that's needed through the province, through Alberta Culture and Tourism. So things like teepee rings. If there's teepee rings that are found on a property, before you develop or subdivide, you need to get the proper provincial approvals to disturb that land. And the land use framework is one that you'll see quite often. The South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, you'll see that brought up lots of times in our subdivision applications that come forward, as well as our development permit applications. And really what that is it's the province's guiding direction for what the priorities are in southern Alberta. So it applies to all the areas basically from Calgary south all the way down to the US border. The ones below, the 4 highlighted in blue, are the county's own bylaws that we've adopted. So first is inter-municipal development plans. So it's kind of the hierarchy that follows. So you can have an inter-municipal development plan, which is a bylaw that's executed between different municipalities. So we've got the tri-area inter-municipal development plan, which the county has entered into with the city and the town of Redcliffe. And that kind of guides growth around the areas that surround those 2 municipalities. So those IDPs have precedence over any other bylaw that the county has. Followed by that is our own municipal development plan, which council has recently updated in 2021. And really what that is it's guiding policies that guide decisions in terms of what our area is going to look like within the next 20-25 years. Area structure plans are intended for a more specified area. So as an example, we have an area structure plan for the hamlet of Irvine, and it outlays what are the proposed uses within that hamlet and what are the uses that we want to see going forward. And it looks at more specific things like servicing and stormwater management at a high level. And then the land use bylaws, the day-to-day decisions that you'll mainly see coming forward to the Planning Commission. It's what you can and can't do on your parcel. So you'll see that there's uses within that land use bylaw that some are discretionary, some are permitted. We'll go into that a little bit further. Any questions so far? No? So role of the Planning Commission, we'll kind of skip over this one fairly quickly, but there is a bylaw that council has approved and it guides the Planning Commission how they're to operate and how they're to make their decisions. That's bylaw 2020-17. And the real role of the Planning Commission is to consider and decide on applications where there's a discretion that's needed. So whether it's a proposal that maybe doesn't comply with the land use bylaws, such as the square footage of buildings that we've seen today. Sometimes it might be that somebody's not able to meet setbacks from a road with their house. So maybe you need to consider the impacts of granting those setback relaxations. You'll also look at things like Eagle Ridge subdivision here in Dunmore at more of a high scale where it's a higher intensity subdivision development that you have to kind of consider and make a decision on. And then the land use bylaws divided into different land use districts. So you've got your agricultural land use districts, your country residential and your hamlet residential, and then your what we call non-res uses, which is commercial and industrial. And each one of those districts will have things that are permitted. So permitted means that there are uses that are permitted under the land use bylaw. They're not appealable. Class 1 discretionary uses would mean that Becky has the approval authority to issue that permit, but it's an appealable decision. And then Class 2 uses come before the Planning Commission for a decision. In terms of different processes, so applications to amend the land use bylaw, that essentially is a land use rezoning that needs to be approved by council in the form of a bylaw. So in some cases, there might be uses that are proposed that maybe don't fit within the district that it's existing within. And so we need a land use amendment to rezone that land. That process requires for a public hearing to be held, and council has to hold that public hearing and then pass what we call second and third readings of those bylaws. So you'll see that Jeffrey mentioned it earlier with subdivisions. Before you can subdivide, you need a rezoning to a country residential district. That's what that process is. Applications for subdivision, I think that one's pretty straightforward. Folks wanting to create a separate title, fix encroachments, those sorts of things. And applications for development is pretty self-explanatory as well. So you'll see on there that we've kind of got the permitted uses, Class 1 discretionary uses, and Class 2 discretionary uses kind of broken apart. So subdivision and development appeal board process. So once there's a discretionary use decision that's made, it is subject to an appeal period afterwards. So development permits that are issued that are discretionary in nature, they have a 3-week appeal period before they become valid. So before somebody can construct their shop that's a discretionary use, they have to wait until that 3-week appeal period expires before they can commence. Subdivision approvals are only appealable by certain parties, so they're appealable by the applicant of the subdivision, a government department, or a school board. So they're not appealable by adjacent landowners. And that is subject to a 2-week appeal period. So there is a difference between the two. And where we are now, we skipped through that pretty fast. So we're continuing to work with our consulting firm that we retained earlier this year. And we retained them to assist us through the process of adopting a new municipal development plan as well as a new land use bylaw. So municipal development plan was adopted by council in October, I think. And the land use bylaw is continuing work over the fall and into the new year with an expected adoption date in March of 2022. So we're working on that still. We'll be bringing forward development permits that were issued in 2021. So that's what we like to do on an annual basis, just for comparison and kind of see where those trends are lying. Is there certain applications that are being brought forward that maybe triggers a change in the bylaw? Are there things that we need to review? And then annual review permits. You'll see Becky bringing forward some applications with a recommendation that they're subject to annual review. And what that means is that if it's a use that's maybe a little bit more intensive, so it's a home occupation in a residential subdivision, we can attach an annual review requirement to that to allow us to address any concerns that might arise. So if we start receiving concerns from neighbors that somebody's operating their welding shop at all hours of the night, that gives us the ability to do kind of follow-up discussions. In the past, we brought in applicants and Planning Commission has addressed them to make sure that they're in compliance with their permit that's issued. And that's kind of it on a very high scale. So if there's any questions, please let us know. And thank you. So the general public can appeal to the SDAB for a development permit, but the general public can't appeal to the SDAB on a subdivision. They can, so they have the opportunity to oppose at the public hearing where council considers the bylaw approval for the land use zoning. And then they also have the ability to supply letters if they're opposed. So it's not necessarily like a public hearing that we welcome them in to come and tell us what their issues are. We ask for those comments in writing, and then we provide those comments to the Planning Commission. Correct. There is cases where if we have somebody attending that's wanting to oppose, then it's kind of been up to the chairman in past circumstances. If the chairman wishes to hear those comments, we kind of leave it with the chair if they're willing to allow the comment or not. The other thing that we didn't really cover off in the presentation is some of the policies that council has. So you heard in Becky's last application that she presented, we were talking about direct access to roads for building of homes and that sort of thing. So one of the requirements through council policies is that when we're issuing permits for the building of residences, they need to have access to a developed county roadway. So if it's an undeveloped road allowance, they need to upgrade those roads to the county standard, and that's done at their cost. So if it's a residence that's accessed from an undeveloped road allowance, there's spin-off effects to that, whereas the county doesn't maintain for snow removal. They're not designated as school bus routes. So we always require that any new builds have access to an established roadway.
Maybe just to expand on that a little bit, I noticed with the last application we had, so maybe if Ingrid, could you put up the photo from the Brost application, which was the air photo? When you get into it, I'll know which photo it was. And it ties right into what Kayleen's mentioning, is that our municipal development plan policies, which again are set by the council, like Kayleen said, requires that the applicant or the developer should be developing or creating a subdivision next to an established road. And the reason for that is obviously is that the county and the taxpayers do not want to be subsidizing the costs of building additional roads because of the cost of them, just so that a developer could potentially build a residence and essentially profit from it if he decides to sell it and turn it over right away. So like I say, I saw on the air photo of this, which was a really good scenario that we can just briefly talk about. And really it has to do with the placement of where they want to put the second residence. So as soon as she brings that up. Yeah, that's the photo right there that I would like. So you can see where the arrow is of where the proposed second residence is, which is basically, I guess, on the north side of the established yard site. The important thing to recognize here is that the township road immediately to the north, which I guess is Township Road 122, is a developed county road allowance. So in the event that if for some reason, and we see it sometimes, that, you know, forever isn't always forever, that if there's a divorce or for whatever reason, a separate title has to be created for this new second residence that the Planning Commission has approved. The good news is that the placement of where that residence is means that it can be, the new subdivision can have a portion of that subdivision that extends to the north that would basically tie in directly with the established road of Township Road 122. So that's a good thing, because that makes it a much easier subdivision based on having to provide access to the yard site, compared to as if it was maybe even further, let's say in the, we'll say the southeast corner of the quarter section, you know, because now you're looking at a fair amount of undeveloped road allowance, or just having to extend the parcel. And so, you know, these are some of the things that we can't necessarily, you know, we try to encourage, I guess, when the developers come in and have their conversations with Kayleen and Becky. And, you know, these are some of the things that, you know, we try to have conversations about, of, you know, in terms of, you know, if you ever did want to further future subdivide, or if they come in with an application to subdivide, you know, these are some of the considerations and challenges that we have. So yeah, I thought this was a good example of, in the event that a subdivision ever does occur for the second residence, at least it's closer to the established road allowance and provides direct access for that potential parcel if it ever occurs.
Thank you very much. That was very informative. Okay, point 9 on the agenda is land use amendments. I didn't see anything else in the any other notes regarding the land use amendments, so I take it there's none coming forth. Okay. Next meeting, December 14th, 10 a.m. And I adjourn the meeting.